Coming up on Cannabis Coast to Coast News this week, the two presidential candidates spar on 17 topics in their first debate, but cannabis reform was not one of them. Yet both continue to play the weed reform card in their daily rallies with supporters. Plus, VP Harris blasts Trump for suddenly pandering to the cannabis voters by supporting safe banking and decriminalization. And the fight between Massachusetts State Treasurer Deborah Goldberg and Cannabis Control Commissioner Shannon O'Brien is back in the headlines after Goldberg fires O'Brien this past week and appoints Bruce Stebbins as the interim chair. And now they head back to court.
You can visit my website to read all about my common sense policy. I'm Sally Duval, and I believe it's high time for change in Texas.
A candidate for the Texas House of Representatives fires up a joint and takes a bong hit on camera to make a point for reform of cannabis laws in her state. Meanwhile, former NFL player Adam Pac-Man Jones confirms he smoked weed before many games in his 12 one-year Pro Bowl career.
The only thing that I can look forward to is clemency from President Biden. President Biden, look at my case. Demonstrate mercy.
Free Edwin Rabiz, incarcerated for 27 years of a 40-year sentence for a non-violent cannabis crime. He wants President Joe Biden to commute his sentence, and the Beard Brothers of California are behind that effort. And now you can add your name to the list to get him out.
Keep quality medicine to those patients who desperately need it. And it's to ensure that we don't lose freedoms that we've already won over corporate greed and uneducated lawmakers.
That's our own Michigan reporter Amy Carter addressing a crowd at their steakhouse in support of Jaden's Law and other reforms. All that on Cannabis Coast to Coast News with Alaina Pinto. Next.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of the news from the cannabis industry. I'm Alaina Pinto. 67 million people watched the presidential debate on Tuesday night. It's likely that some of those people were pro-cannabis and waiting for one of the moderators to ask the question about federal reform of cannabis. You knew both candidates have shared their feelings about their opinions on that subject, but 17 subjects were talked about and not one word about cannabis. So think about what that means. If there is more daily use of cannabis now than alcohol, according to recent polls, 70% of adults believe the plant medicine should be legalized, but the media moderators didn't think it was appropriate to ask. This is part of why the reason and the stigma continues in this country and why pro-cannabis media will continue to push the effort towards acceptance and education. Then again, there are some politicians who aren't afraid to address the divide between federal and state laws. Last week, it was California Governor Gavin Newsom who moved towards banning cannabinoid-based hemp products in his state. This week, it's the governors of New Jersey and Missouri who are moving towards banning those products from gas stations, convenience stores, and smoke shops where they are readily available. Then there's the state of Texas, where the Farm Bill of 2018 opened the door for these legal products to grow into another billion-dollar industry. That state still considers cannabis illegal to possess and sell, but has allowed a huge industry of hemp and cannabinoid products to be readily available and for sale. One candidate for the House of Representatives in that state is Democrat Sally Duval from Austin, who spelled out that state's inconsistent government policy in a very dramatic way.
My name is Sally Duval, and I'm running for the Texas House of Representatives. You might already know what's in this, but do you know who has no idea and no way to test it? Law enforcement. They arrest people every day for marijuana possession, but they don't have the funding to test if it's illegal marijuana or a federally legal hemp product. Our laws are confusing and unclear. While marijuana remains illegal for most Texans, hemp products that can get you high, like Delta 8, Delta 9, and THCA, are being sold at more than 7,000 retailers statewide. But our lieutenant governor, he wants to both regulate and ban these products. Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that you can't do both of these things. Fortunately, we don't have to choose between safety and legalization. We can and should have both, but it's going to take leaders who know enough and care enough to do what's right. My opponent doesn't, which is a real shame. Not only will legalization and regulation help support our small farmers and medically complex Texans, but the tax revenue could be used to help fund education, public health, and mental health services. So here's the bottom line. Texans should have the freedom to consume these products if they want to. You can visit my website to read all about my common sense policy. I'm Sally Duval, and I believe it's high time for change in Texas.
Of course, when it comes to Texas, our Lisa Williams is right on top of stories in her state. Here's Lisa's take on that political ad and what it might mean for the state of Texas.
I'm Lisa Williams with the Toke Agency, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. All right, folks, Texas politics just took a smoky turn. Sally Duval, who's running for Texas House District 73, released a campaign ad that got people talking and coughing. She lit up a joint on camera, advocating for full marijuana legalization in the Lone Star State. That's right. She's not just talking the talk. She's literally sparking up the conversation. Sally's argument is simple. Texas already has legalized hemp-derived Delta 8 and Delta 9 products, which are getting Texans high. But marijuana remains illegal. And according to Duval, these outdated laws are putting people behind bars and overloading our criminal justice system. In her ad, she makes it clear it's time to end the contradictions and allow Texans to legally buy marijuana. She says full legalization could help fund schools and healthcare and give our farmers a new crop to grow. And she's not alone. Sally points to the momentum building across the state. This November, cities like San Marcos and Dallas and Denton are set to vote on marijuana decriminalization measures. These votes could be the next step towards reshaping cannabis laws across the state, making Sally's push for full legalization more than just a campaign promise. It could be part of a statewide movement. In Sally's eyes, this is more than just getting high. It's about giving Texans the access to medical marijuana, supporting local businesses, and bringing in much needed revenue. She's calling for regulations that benefit everyone, from patients seeking relief to farmers looking for new opportunities. Her opponent? Well, he's keeping it old school and ignoring the growing support for reform. But Sally's confident Texas voters are ready for a change, and she's not afraid to be the face of it. Whether this bold move helps her secure a seat in the House or not, one thing's for sure. Sally Duval is blazing her own trail, and Texas politics may never be the same. You go, girl. I'm Lisa Williams with the Toke Agency, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Here in Massachusetts, last Monday, the chair of the Cannabis Control Commission, Shannon O'Brien, was finally fired by State Treasurer Deborah Goldberg, who appointed her to that post. Over the past 12 months, O'Brien has been under attack by people who worked at the commission but left because of a chaotic and toxic work environment. O'Brien was first suspended by Goldberg a year ago, and the two went to court to argue if that suspension was justified. Close to $800,000 in legal fees has been accrued, while O'Brien continued to collect here almost $200,000 in salary. Executive Director Sean Collins resigned in December, and now the state treasurer has appointed Bruce Stebbins to be the interim chair while the search for a replacement continues. Sure enough, O'Brien will appeal her firing, so the legal fees will continue to grow, as will the frustrations over the commission's operations. In fairness, the commission has made some changes to the controversial host community agreements and reportedly cut the wait time to issue licenses down from 4 months to 2 weeks. Although, depending on who you talk to, that timing might not be true. Case in point is a new dispensary in Millbury, Massachusetts. It's called Wonderland. And that opened this past weekend. Yes, the theme is the Alice in Wonderland, and you will find a giant mural of the Mad Hatter inside. Wonderland is another adult use family operation that held its grand opening over the weekend, and PCM founder Jimmy Young took in their launch and talked to the owner-operators about their experience in trying to get their doors open to commence operations.
Thanks, Alaina. I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young on location here at the grand opening of Wonderland. It is one of the newer dispensaries in the greater Worcester, Massachusetts area, right outside the entrance to Blackstone Valley Shops, that mall in Blackstone Valley. And here is Olivia. This is a family-owned operation. Olivia is the daughter, the proud daughter, I would think.
The very proud daughter. Yes, thank you.
How cool is it to be working with your parents?
Pretty amazing. It's been a long journey, but we've had a great time doing it.
And everybody who goes through this process knows it is a long journey. How challenging was it to get through all the paperwork and all the permissions and then finally hear those words, commence operation?
It was a very long journey. It was treacherous, to say the least. You get so far and then the rules are changed in the game and you're set back again. So we were just perseverance and kept through. And it was about a 4-year process from us from start to finish.
4 years. By the way, there are reports out there that it only takes 2 weeks to get your license now, once your application in. Is that accurate, Olivia?
No, not at all. Unfortunately, I wish it were. Between getting initial approval by the state, through the town, then our build out, then you have to have your final walkthrough. It was a painstakingly long process to get through.
They don't make it easy for you to get into business, do they?
No. There's extensive background checks, and then as soon as you give them an answer to one form, you need to fill out another form, and nothing's grandfathered in, so you're filling out a lot of the same paperwork repetitively. So you feel like you're wasting time and you're dragging your heels. However, we were looking forward to the end site, which was Wonderland opening. We're very excited about today. We've had some great people come in. We have some wonderful vendors who support us through this process.
Terrific. Well, best of luck. And let me ask you a question. If anybody named Alice show up today?
Oh, well, we would love to see Alice come in, of course.
Don't you want to see Alice in Wonderland? I know I do. Thank you so much, Olivia, and best of luck in the future. I loved your parents. Your folks are great.
Thank you, they are.
We'll have more of Cannabis Coast to Coast News with Alaina Pinto after this.
Ready to take your craft to the next level? Imagine faster extractions, purer products, and more profits. Sounds good, right? At Pure 5 Extraction, we've revolutionized cannabis extraction with our game-changing technology. No solvents, no heat, just the cleanest, most natural process on the market. Whether you're a boutique grower or a large-scale operation, Pure 5 has the tools to elevate your business worldwide. Visit pure5extraction.com today. Pure 5 Extraction, because your plants deserve the best.
Many of the professional sports leagues have made changes to their rules about cannabis consumption in the state where they play, especially in the 24 legal states. So when Adam Pacman Jones, a former 12-year NFL veteran and one-time Pro Bowler, admitted this week that he smoked weed before many of the games he played in, it came as no surprise. If you really want to hear from professional athletes who were users of cannabis during their career, you should check out Dave Briggs' Canversation podcast on our new PCM TV app. Briggs, a former sportscaster and news anchor at CNN, Fox, and now on the Yahoo Business News Report, interviews other NFL players like Calvin Johnson, Robbie Sims, Ricky Williams, Tiki Barber, and Amani Toomer, among others, about their own journey with the plant medicine in a league that was notorious about giving out opioids like candy. In the meantime, the state that Jones played in for half his career, Ohio, is continuing to rack up legal sales to adults. And now, after 1 month, that figure has reached $50 million, one of the highest first month of sales in history. Another Midwest state has turned out to be a major player in the weed industry. It's Michigan. That state now sells more different cannabis products than California, the nation's #1 state in the cannabis space. The problem in Michigan isn't the amount of sales in cash, it's the prices of flower that are coming way down. But before we go to her report, here's Amy speaking for her Michigan Weedsters from the steps of the Michigan State House this week, pushing for more cannabis reform in that state. Here's Amy Carter.
This is for the CannaFam. It's to keep us together. It's to keep quality medicine to those patients who desperately need it. And it's to ensure that we don't lose freedoms that we've already won over corporate greed and uneducated lawmakers. So let's work together. Let's educate the lawmakers. And let's save our cannabis here in Michigan. We have the best. We have one of, I would say, the most unique cannabis laws out of any state.
I'm Amy Carter from Michigan Weedsters with the Michigan Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. According to the newest survey by researchers as part of the ongoing University of Michigan National Poll on Healthy Aging, the poll, which surveys Americans 50 and older, were surveyed on the use of cannabis products containing THC. They found that more than 1 in 4 Michiganders used cannabis this past year, higher than the national average. Users say they're seeking relief from pain or trying to improve their mood. 2 of every 3 Michigan users said they do so to treat a medical condition. 84% of respondents said they use pot to relax, 70% to help them sleep, 65% to help them feel good, 66% to address pain, 54% to improve mental health, 43% as part of a social gathering, and 27% to celebrate. And we are celebrating here with our August numbers. They were just released, and Michigan's recreational and medical cannabis sales set a monthly record of $295.5 million, up nearly 3% from July sales. With Ohio now legal and harvest season approaching, those numbers could drastically change. We'll have to wait and see. The Michigan Weedsters hosted its annual harvest rally in Lansing, Michigan at our state's capital. Patients, caregivers, advocates, business owners, and freedom fighters gathered from high noon until 4:20. Although cannabis is legal in Michigan, we still have a lot of work to do. As the founder of Michigan Weedsters, I want to say thank you to everyone that came out. It was an absolutely beautiful day with so many amazing people. That's Michigan's Cannabis Report. I'm Amy Carter, reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
That'll do it for the A block of this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News, but we've got a lot more with our regular state-by-state correspondents, including more evidence on how youth and teen use is declining in legal states. So don't go away. Cannabis Coast to Coast News continues after this.
Yeah, it's a great question because cannabis is very exciting. It's almost like, mom and pop drugstores. You could start whatever you wanted. You could be pretty successful. And then there are the business people who see the revenue potential. And those are the ones that I think they are going to become the buyers going forward. And then smaller companies will be the sellers. And then there'll be another group of like, what the heck happened? And there'll probably be some craft survivors as well. But I think, the access to capital and business, this is becoming a mature business, just like craft beer or the car industry from, the 1910s to today. Yeah, I think Schedule 3 will have radical changes. I think we're going to see consolidation in the space independent of Schedule 3. Schedule 3 will influence the flavor of the consolidation, but it's going to happen no matter what.
Will that open up more capital?
It'll open up more capital, more access. One way or another, as the industry consolidates, they're going to have to get access to capital. The buyers will, and that's going to change the markets fundamentally.